The Elm Hill City Zoo welcomes a small herd of the Markhors from the newest Zookeepers Animal Pack. In today's episode, we'll create this hilly enclosure for them that might actually be one of my favorite habitats in the entire zoo. This will also be a start of the new section in the zoo called the Asian Highlands. So without any further ado, let me show you how I created all of this. Hello guys, this is Cesar Creates and welcome back to my channel. In today's episode of the Elm Hill City Zoo, we are at another animal from the Zookeepers Animal Pack to the zoo, and this time it will be the Markhor. This habitat will start a new section in our zoo, which I'm actually super excited for, and it will be called the Asian Highlands. The Markhor is the second animal from the Zookeepers Animal Pack that we are adding to the Elm Hill City Zoo. Last time we added the Pallas cat, and you guys really enjoyed that video, so thank you so much for that. You left me so many wonderful comments, so thank you for that so much. And in case if you are watching this video and you haven't seen the last one, I will put the link down in the description and on the screen. I'm actually mentioning the last episode because in there I shared with you all of my plans regarding the new animals from the Zookeeper Pack for the Elm Hill City Zoo, and I briefly talked about the Asian Highlands or the Himalayan section or something. I don't really know how to call it, but this will be all about the animals that come from Asia and that come from the mountains. So during the last tour video, I shared with you my list of all the animals that I still want to add to the Elm Hill City Zoo, and the list didn't include the giant panda, and a lot of you got very mad at me that I don't want to include that. So I slightly decided to change my plans and actually include the giant panda in the zoo, but build the whole entire area around it. So because of that, this idea came to my mind to build the entire section committed to animals from the highlands of Asia, and we are starting this with the Markhor today. But this section will also include the takins, the giant pandas, the red pandas that I will move from the small mammal house, and probably also the Eurasian lynx that also lives in Asia in the same regions as those animals. So yeah, this is my plan, and we are starting it today with the Markhor that I am very excited for because I love those animals so much. Oh my god, they are finally in Planet Zoo, which I am so happy and so excited for. Okay, but let's actually now focus on the habitats. I have the entire list of topics for today's video because it is slightly a longer one. This habitat took me so long to build because it has a lot of different elements, like different fences, like the moat, the shelter, the intricate rock formations and stuff that took a long time. But in the end, I think that it is actually one of my favorite habitats that I ever created in this game and in the Elm Hill City Zoo. Of course, besides all the big and crazy like animal houses, this is just a simple like one habitat for one animal, but I really love how it has turned out. Like, it is still an ungulate enclosure, so nothing too crazy, but I think it looks very realistic and like something that you could see in a real life zoo, and that made me so happy because while building this, I had my doubts. I was like, oh no, this doesn't look good. Like, I was changing some things, adjusting and stuff, but this is all about trusting the process, and in the end, I just love how it has turned out. As I told you many times already, the Markhor was very high on my wish list. I think that they are one of the most beautiful ungulates in the world. Their horns are just incredible. They have those big beards and are just so beautiful to me. I actually saw them in several zoos, like in Prague Zoo, recently in the Bronx Zoo. Also, we have them in Poland, for example, in Warsaw Zoo. But none of the habitats that I saw during my zoo visits actually were too like inspiring to me to build them in Planet Zoo. Like, they were very like boring, not even a lot of like rock formations for them to climb on. So I decided to look for inspiration online, and I actually found a habitat that I really liked. It was the Markhor habitat from the LA Zoo. The habitat actually looks like it was like an old repurposed bear habitat, like those really like outdated like concrete pits for the bears, but it was slightly improved by adding those like rock formations and, you know, just made fit for the mountain goats. I don't know much about the LA Zoo. I've never been there, but maybe it was the case. I don't know. Maybe some of you will recognize this habitat who actually were in that zoo and will tell me. But yeah, here is the photo of the habitat, so you can see what I was going for. I really liked it, and I wanted to recreate something like that in the game. I actually have been to LA last year with my friends when I was doing my trip around California and some other states, but we already visited the San Diego Zoo and the San Diego Safari Park, and as much as my friends love me and they respect my hobbies and, you know, they are really supportive and stuff, they didn't want to see 7 zoos on our way, even though I really wanted to like drag them through all the zoos on our way. So yeah, I understood that, and we had some other plans for LA, and I couldn't go to the zoo, but maybe one day I will visit it once more. I don't know, because I heard some really nice things about the LA Zoo. I think that this is a really nice zoo, but yeah, this is something that I have on my list to see in the future. Actually, when it comes to my zoo list, you guys are constantly like bombarding me with different zoos whenever I am uploading the trips from the zoos, and I think that on the top of my list after all your recommendations now are still the Leipzig Zoo, the Paradise, and also the Rotterdam Zoo. I think that they are the 3 that are like the most like mentioned by you, but also the London Zoo I think is very common, the Chester Zoo in the UK, also the Bouville, I don't know, the zoo that is near Paris is also mentioned. So those are all on my wish list that I really want to visit one day. So I think I need to plan my zoo trips for the next year, but of course we'll see if I'll be able to make it. So the whole habitat is surrounded by the concrete moat that I created using the limestone pieces. I chose the limestone because there is a lot of those smaller pieces like those trims and so on that are in the same texture, and you can use them to just fill in those tiny little holes, because as much as I love the concrete pieces textures in this game, we don't have those smaller like building pieces with this texture, so sometimes it is a bit more difficult to build those detailed structures with the concrete. So yeah, the moat is sort of like lower in the front of the habitat and is very like high in the back, and in the back it creates like this irregular shape that sort of resembles a mountain or something. Of course the terrain in the habitat is not like uneven, the front part is lower, and in the back you have like this little hill for the animals to climb on, and this is something that we went for. So creating this whole structure with this irregular shape actually took me so long, and also the size of the habitat was a bit of a struggle because I of course didn't want to make it too small, but also I didn't want to make it look massive because I still wanted to make it look like or feel like it could be a bear habitat back in the days, so this is something that I went for. After I was done with the moat, it was time to add the fences, so I created this fence that was actually in the front of the habitat in real life, and for that I used a lot of the new pieces from the Zookeepers Animal Pack that I really love, so those like small ropes, but also the string pieces that are actually I think from the free update that are I think the thinnest piece in the game right now, and are so useful for all those strings or wires or anything like that, and I think that I'll be using them a lot from now on, so prepare for prepare for seeing them in all of my builds from now on. And I also created a fence for the guests that will surround the whole habitat, also inspired by the LA Zoo. After that I also used the string one more time to create like this hot wire on the top of this whole concrete structure, so this is really secure and we are sure that the animals won't be escaping. I read somewhere that the Markhor is the master of escapes. They can jump really high, and I think I read this about the Columbus Zoo. Yeah, I think it was the Columbus that they've built this new entire beautiful habitat for the Markhors, and to test this habitat they've let in like a half sedated male, so it was simply half conscious, and it took that half conscious male like 7 minutes to escape the habitat. It just jumped out of it, so yeah, we had to take that into consideration, and that's why I added those hot wires, and this is something that of course I took also from the LA Zoo. After that it was time to do all the terraforming and add a lot of rocks to create those rock structures that the goats will be actually able to climb climb on, and this was the part that was so satisfying to me because I wasn't sure that it will work in the end, and when I've let the Markhors in, they can use the entire habitat, they can climb on everything, so I just nailed it and I was so proud of myself and so happy that I didn't have to like rebuild this whole rock structure. But yeah, it will take some time for me to build this, so while I'll be adding a lot of those rocks, different, like smaller, bigger and so on, let's talk about some other things. So as I told you guys, I am so happy that the Markhor was added to the game. I think that again, it is one of the most beautiful ungulates, but also I love those mountain goats because you can create so interesting things for them with all their possibilities when it comes to the traversable area, like the rock formations. The habitats can look really interesting compared to some of the normal like ungulates that just live on the flat grounds. The model of the Markhor in the game is like, is good. I think it has some flaws, especially the beard could be a bit better, but in the end the horns are amazing, like the size, the colors, everything is just right. Just the beard, it slightly bothers me, but in the end it is a very good animal and I am very happy that it was actually added because it was very high on my personal wish list. I had a lot of those like mountain goats there and I still have some. Actually, I checked my wish list that I uploaded to my channel not long ago. Like it had the first one and then I sort of expanded the list so that we had almost 200 animals, and actually all the animals from the Zookeepers Animal Pack were included on my wish list. So of course I am happy with this pack. I think that the animals are so amazing. I still have my favorites that I would love to see, as like a lot of you probably. Those include, for example, the secretary birds that I know so many of you would like to see. This includes animal like Tamandula, that is like basically arboreal anteater that is just so cute to me that I would love to see in Planet Zoo. But yeah, I'm still happy with this pack. I'm mentioning this because a lot of you actually thanked me for being so positive about this, because again, the community is a bit like divided. Some people are happy with this, some people are done, and I think it's normal with those DLC. We've learned that by this time, that none of the DLCs will make everyone happy. I'm sure that even if the birds will be added one day, some people will still not be happy with those. What I just wanted to say is that I am so happy that Planet Zoo still makes those packs. Like, I'm happy for this because we are 5 years into the support of this game, and this is so unusual for the gaming world right now to support the game for such a long time and to bring this additional content to it that is of such a high quality. Of course, there are games like The Sims that make those packs and expansions and stuff still, but from what I've heard, those DLCs are not always at the highest like quality. So we should be very like grateful and very happy that Planet Zoo is still doing those DLCs, because they could easily end after 3 years or something. But yeah, I'm so happy that they are still continuing and still supporting this game. And I don't know if it's the last one. Maybe it was the last one, but maybe they are still cooking something. I don't know. But yeah, I am very happy, and I think that this kind of mindset really helps me to enjoy those packs, because I simply don't have high expectations for the next packs. I know that we won't probably get birds or aquatics. Like, I've known this from like 3 or 2 years already. I just said to myself, okay, this is probably not happening because everyone is requesting that and they are not doing this, and it's okay, and I should like lower my expectations, and this is what I did. And from this time I was just thrilled for all the new DLCs. And also, what really helps for me personally is that I'm such an animal nerd that I love to read about the animals in my free time. I'm just very interested in animals, and I know a lot of different species that some people probably don't know or just don't pay too much attention to. That's why animals like Markhor or Takin or I don't know, Dig excites me so much, because I know of them, I know a lot of things about them, I know why they are so unique, and that they are housed actually in a lot of zoos that I've been to or I want to go to. So that's why maybe I am a bit more happy for those than, for example, some other content creators. I don't want to like throw a shade or anyone right now. I just am saying that I am just a nerd and I am reading a lot, and some people probably don't, and that's totally fine. You can play this game without like zero knowledge about the animals and still enjoy it. Why not? This is something that I intend to do for Planet Coaster 2. I have zero knowledge for coasters and I don't know, water parks or anything, and I will still play the game, and you guys will probably roast me for building the roller coasters totally wrong, but that's fine. We don't need to be an expert in anything and still upload those videos and still play and just enjoy ourselves. But yeah, I just wanted to mention this because I saw, first of all, you thanking me for being so positive, but also I saw a lot of like opinions that the Markhor was not needed or it was a controversial pick, but for me it was just perfect, so I just wanted to mention that. And yeah, Takin and Markhor were actually one of my I think top 10 requested animals from this game. I still have some really high on my wishes when it comes to those more like mountain goats. For example, the Barbary sheep from Africa would be amazing to have. I also have like a bighorn sheep, mountain goat, Himalayan tar. It is so beautiful. Oh my god, I just would love to have it. And also the Baral in this with this like blue coloration is so wonderful. The chamois, of course, from Europe. It's the mountain goat that lives in my country in the mountainous region, so I also would love to see it. There's also a Nubian ibex. I know we have the ibex in the game already, but the Nubian one is also unique because it lives in Africa and they are often housed with like baboons and geladas, so that habitat would also look amazing. So yeah, there's still so many. I am fully aware that I won't see the day when they will be in the game, but if they will be ever added, I would be just so happy. Okay, but while I was rambling, there have been a lot of things going on the screen, so let's talk about them. After I finished the whole rock formation and I made some mountains or hills inside of this habitat, I added a lot of details. So I added smaller rocks, I added decals for some added texture. I also did some terrain painting, so make it look a bit more interesting. I added a lot of dry plants like sticks and stuff to make it look like animals ate the plants that were growing in there. I also added the enrichment item. I added a big tree in there with the tree guards. I actually, like, the original habitat had more trees, but when I tried to add them, there was a lot of shade in this habitat that completely covered all the intricate things that I did with the rocks in there, so I didn't want to throw a shade on them, so I decided to only add one. I thought about adding none, but then I decided, okay, let's give those animals some shade for like a hotter day. So there's one tree, but on the photo that I probably showed you at the beginning of the video, there was more. And also I think that I would do the thumbnail for the video without this tree because it covers a lot of the view for the habitat. So just to tell you that I cheated a bit, I think. I also, of course, added the enrichment items for the animals. I added a wrapping peeler that I custom made for the dromedary camels that has the actual rubber peeler hidden in it, and it works with the tires on, so it is so cool to see the animals using that. I added some custom feeders and filled them with a lot of food for them, so I added some vegetables. I added the new apples that were added with the free update, and I also added those paper tassels that I actually totally missed when I was doing my showcase of the free update. I just forgot about them and didn't show you them, but they work amazing just as I use them here for some hay or some other smaller plants or anything. Such an amazing piece that I know that I'll be using a lot in my future builds. After all that, I added the decals on the walls to make them look a bit interesting, and I also wanted to add some moss so it's not so tidy and perfect. And then I will add a lot of different plants around the habitat. So again, I wanted to achieve this contrast of a very green, lush plants around the habitat, and the habitat itself is lacking at the plants a bit because they're again ungulates and they will eat all those. So the greenery is mostly outside of it. This is something that I also took from the LA Zoo because it had this amazing green wall behind the habitat, and I think it looks amazing. And when it comes to this green wall, I used a lot of the bamboo, and I know that I normally don't use them a lot. This is because I I like the bamboo in the game, but from the closer perspective, I don't really like the model of this plant because it has like some, I think, outdated textures. Like they are a bit blurry, so you can really see that there's something off with this plant. But I decided that this whole section of the zoo will be a bit more themed, so we'll do it around the Himalayan theme or something. So of course we'll be adding a lot of bamboos. I also think that by now I also created a new fence that will include a bamboo piece, and in the cinematic shots you'll see that I also added those like stone lanterns or anything that is also meant to be a part of theming. I know that I am not a master when it comes to themed areas in this game. I am not a big fan of those. I always forget about adding those things around the habitats, but this time I really want to push myself to actually create like a little like Himalayan section of our zoo. We'll also do like those like typical gates and also probably maybe a Himalayan restaurant or something like this. So yeah, this is something that I have in my head and I really hope that I'll be able to achieve in here. So yeah, a bit of theming is included in this habitat, but we'll of course do more in the future ones. What I also did is do like custom tiles on the path. That took me so long, but I think that it was worth it because I think it looks phenomenal and it is a slightly different path that we have in the rest of the zoo. So I'm not repeating the same concrete path again. For this section, we'll have a slightly different path. In the last episode, I actually told you that the next episode of the Elm Hill City Zoo will be out quite soon at the beginning of this week, and of course my life just came in as always, and whenever I am telling you guys that something will be out on this day, I never am able to like keep this promise. So I again promise to myself not to give you those dates anymore, but I just wanted to tell you that the next episode or the next video will be actually from the Desert Adventure Park when it comes to Planet Zoo. Then we'll probably have again the Jurassic World Evolution, and then I'll be back to the Elm Hill City Zoo, where I will start the new special building for some of the African animals, and we'll be going back to this area from time to time, just as we are doing with the petting zoo, because I actually enjoy this like jumping from like place to place in the zoo and creating different stuff, because it isn't boring to me. Like if I would have to do the whole petting zoo and do those whole like 7 or I don't know 5 barns next to each other or from wooden pieces, I think that it would be super boring, and after that I'll be very tired. But you know, keeping my inspiration flowing and doing different stuff is really helpful for me while creating in the zoo, because I am not getting bored. I have different ideas and different inspirations for that. So yeah, we'll be doing this, and I think that soon we'll also build for the Komodo dragons. Finally, I know that those were really highly requested, so I really cannot wait to build for those. And also Planet Coaster 2 is coming out on the 6th of November, so this is something that will also be frequently showing up on my channel. I already have a pretty nice idea for my new park, so we'll start a very fun park here on my channel, and I'm very curious how it will go. But don't worry, the zoo will still be my main focus on the channel. Right now, as you guys can see, I'm creating the shelter for the Markhors. I took this building from one of my visits to the Tier Park Berlin. It was like a deer like shelter or anything. I just slightly adjusted it, made it suitable for Planet Zoo. I made sure that the animals can actually enter this, and we'll have the interior fully done, but I won't do this in the video. You'll see that in the cinematic shots by the end of the video. I'll also create like holding pens in here and the entrance for the animals to just go from the main part of the habitat into this backstage area, so it all works and makes sense. This shelter will be very simple. It is very like hidden away, so the guests won't be able to see that much of it, so I didn't feel like, you know, adding tons of details to it, but I still like this building. I think it works for an area like this. But going back to the topic of Planet Coaster right now, I also wanted to mention something that slightly like maybe, I don't know, bothers me, or maybe that's a very strong word, but I just love the whole marketing that Frontier is doing for Planet Coaster 2. It is so amazing. All the social media posts are just incredible, and this shows me just how they are neglecting Planet Zoo lately, which is sort of like sad because of course this game has a lot of those dedicated funds and we would love to see stuff like this. I know that the game is so like late in its production and support and stuff, but I think that it has such an amazing potential for social media. Like, this is what I do for my job, like everyday job. I work in sales and marketing, and I also deal a lot with social media. So I think that this game has such a crazy potential for social media, like development posts and ideas, and of course those short videos, posts and so on, and they are not using it to the full potential, like, because I also think that doing like a very engaging social media helps to bring people back to the game or to bring even new players still to the game, which of course contributes to sales. And just from the top of my head, I know that they did some videos and some like zookeeper talks and stuff for some animals, but we actually never saw like the expert animal keeper talking about the enclosures in the zoo, like what they should include. Like, for example, okay, we have a new Markhor coming to the game, so let's go to the zoo and let's interview a Markhor keeper who will tell us, okay, the Markhor enclosure, it should have a fence like this, it should be this and this big, it should have a holding pen, the shelter for the Markhor should look like this. It will be so helpful for us, and actually trying to recreate the stuff that the keeper is showing you on the video. I think it would be so like engaging for the community, and also showing like those ideas right away of what we could build in the game. Like, that would be so amazing. Like, I know because a lot of you just write me those messages or comments that you are really struggling with inspiration, so why not Planet Zoo should try and, you know, provide us with this inspiration even more. Like, I am sure that zoos would be very down to even more promotion, and this is not something like very like difficult for them to do, just to go to the zoo and, you know, record some things, like show this habitat, show, I don't know, a sifaka habitat in the zoo, how it should look and stuff, and also showcase the buildings in the zoo, like for example a souvenir shop or anything. So that would be very, very like useful for us, and also I think engaging for the community. But also in the past they used to showcase the builds by the community much more, and I think it was also a bit more engaging for us because okay, it was maybe a goal for some people to be on this Planet Zoo social media and showcase there. Every time they did that for me, it was like such a huge deal for me, because it is basically my favorite game and they are showing my work to the whole world. So that was always so amazing. I know that they also did those showcases of different Planet Zoo content creators that they just randomly stopped doing. So they're not also very consistent with their social media, which is a bit weird to me. But yeah, maybe they will learn something from Planet Coaster 2 and apply it to Planet Zoo 2. There's always hope. But you see, guys, because I used to have those comments that I'm a Frontier puppy and I am always happy with everything that they are doing and releasing. And this time I'm saying something bad about them. Okay, maybe not super bad, but I just think that they are sort of like wasting the potential here, that they could do some stuff a bit better. Okay, but with that being said, I am done with the speed build part of the video, so let's meet in the cinematic shots so I can tell you a bit more about the habitat and show you around. Just as I told you in the video, this might be one of my favorite habitats in the entire zoo. It just looks and functions just as I imagined it in my head, so I am very happy with how it has turned out. The traversable area of the Markhor is so incredible. They can use the entire habitat, they can climb on those rocks, and it is so cool to see when they do that. This habitat was again inspired by the LA Zoo and their Markhor habitat, and my favorite thing about this is probably this big concrete wall in the back that has this like funky shape that resembles sort of like a mountain or a hill, and I think that it really works for an animal like a Markhor, or it would also work for other kinds of goats like we have in the game, for example the ibex or the doll sheep. In the front part of the habitat there is like a moat or a ditch to just stop the animals from escaping, so I think that they shouldn't be able to jump out, and to prevent that even more we have this fence that was created from the new strings and ropes from the Zookeepers Animal Pack. I just really love those pieces. Of course, I also created the whole backstage area with a new shelter and some holding pens, and inside of the shelter there are stalls and there's some keeper stuff, some tools, as I always do. As I told you, this habitat starts a new section in the zoo called the Asian Highlands, and this entire section will be located behind the wildcat house and also the petting zoo. So it is actually very exciting to see our zoo like slowly developing towards the back of the map. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this habitat as much as I do, especially that it took me so long to build, but I think it was totally worth it because again, I think that this is one of the best habitats in the entire Elm Hill City Zoo. If you enjoyed the video, please consider to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, ring the bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video like this, give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and of course leave me a comment, tell me what you think about the habitat. If you'd like to become a sponsor of one of the habitats in the Elm Hill City Zoo, you can do it with the join button down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!